so what I'm going to do, and I know probably not everybody, everybody that's watching this right now has probably heard about SB9, which is why you're here. Probably even have a general understanding of what it is, right? Or even some of you might have an in-depth understanding. I'm going to do a quick overview, or at least I'm going to try and do a quick overview, because I tend to talk a lot, of what those basic requirements are for SB9, whether or not you qualify, your property can qualify for SB9, and then take a look at what we found as jurisdictions are starting to incorporate it, right? Because like it was signed in September 2021, became effective January 1 this year. Some cities really moved fast to create an urgency ordinance or urgency policies to respond to it, to either try to prohibit it or as much as they can, or just incorporate the requirements into their own codes. So we are moving as fast as we can to go into all these jurisdictions and data gather as much as we can to see what aspects of SB9 they're incorporating and where they're expanding and what interpretations they're having. So let me start as just a general overview of SB9. Basically what SB9 is it allows for by right development of 2 units within a single family zone. So at its basic function, if you have a qualified single family property, you can now put 2 units on that property ministerially. Ministerially is it's non-discretionary, right? And that's huge for development, right? There's no discretion involved. It's an over-the-counter. It's building permit sign-off review essentially. SB9 also allows, again, at qualifying single family properties, it allows for your single family lot to be split into 2 lots. And then you could put 2 units within either lot, right? So for a total of 4 new units where you previously had potentially 1 unit on your lot. Now, in order to qualify for SB9, as I mentioned, there's a series of qualifications, limitations on how it can be applied and what you can do with it. But let's just talk first about, what properties can qualify, because I think a lot of people have probably heard about the Turner study that came out of Berkeley, where they blanketly excluded a lot of, areas like coastal zone, very high fire severity zones, whatnot. So first of all, if you're in a historic zone, historic district, if your property is a historic cultural monument or identified as historic in any way, that property is not eligible, right? So that's just a blanket, not eligible, can't do anything about it, basically. If you're in a designated wetland area, your property, even if, as I understand it, if it's touching your property, that wetland area, your property is also disqualified. There's limitations for a designated very high fire severity zone. As I understand it, that's disqualified unless there's built-in mitigations within the jurisdiction already for the construction of that building. So that's something that you'll have to check within the local jurisdiction. Limitations of SB9. Oh, sorry, let me back up. I mentioned single family. So single family zones, it's not entirely consistent amongst, jurisdictions. City of Los Angeles has, I don't know, I think we counted 1,900 zones, something like, there's some crazy amount of zones in the city of Los Angeles, like overall, we count all the specific plans and the overlays and all that. But there's a whole list of, what's considered to be, what could be considered single family and whatnot. So jurisdictions are starting to come out with their own interpretations of what they're considering to be single family, right? So if your property allows for two dwelling units, right, then that's considered multiple family, essentially. So let's see some of the standards within SB9. Local zoning, non-conforming zoning rules don't necessarily apply in terms of if let's take an example of a 6,000 square foot R1 single family property, right? 6,000 square feet in an urban area is a general size, right? And if you want to do a lot split, you can do 50%, but the maximum split differential is 60-40, right? So no one lot can be less than 40% of the original lot area. In the city of Los Angeles, the minimum lot area of that R1 zone is 5,000 square feet. So if you have a 6,000 square foot lot and you want to do a lot split on it, you're met with, prior to SB9, you'd be met with, a non-conforming lot size. Your lot width would likely also not be conforming, so we'd be coming into it with a parcel map, with, a zone variance application, all this, discretionary action. SB9 has removed that, right? So if your property qualifies, you can do that lot split. I think you can go all the way down to 1,200 square feet per lot with SB9 at a minimum. So that's no longer an issue. Also, right-of-way dedications requirements or imposition of offsite improvements is also something that the jurisdictions can no longer require through SB9. So, oftentimes when you're doing a lot split, or if you're doing any sort of a discretionary entitlement, the jurisdiction will want, if your street, for example, is substandard in dimension, they'll want to take that land and require you to improve it, right? So that can no longer happen with SB9.